are just with him and it's no strings attached and you're just with him for vibes and you're having sex with that person is having sex with other people and those other people are having sex with other people, and at some point you think that that's not going to affect your spirit, that's not going to affect your soul, but there's a lot of exchange of energies and you just call it vibes, no, there's it's really nothing serious. We're just vibing, but you guys are having sex. Okay, we go to is it on? And we're live. Okay. Hi. Okay, we're live. Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Sit Downs with Refilwe, and I am your girl, your host with the most, Refilwe. Our first episode for the new year, and I have to say, I am so glad that God has given us the strength to be able to do it in the first month of the year. So before I go any further, I just want to say, how does it go? Compliments to the new season. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope that you guys are good. I hope that you guys have been well and been super kind to yourselves. And I just want to say, I wish you a prosperous God's favor, and may you experience his hand on everything that you do this year. May you experience his hand over your goals, your life, your family, your dreams, and more than anything, may we seek his face and build an altar for him that burns even in private. Welcome to the first episode. And I have to say, it feels good to be back. It does feels good to be back. And you know me, sometimes I prepare and sometimes I freestyle. But today, we came prepared. Okay? We came prepared. In this new season of our life that we are in, I want us to take inventory of our surroundings, and when I say surroundings, I mean our environment, the people that we are around, the spaces that we allow ourselves to be in, the energy that we consume. I want us to be mindful of where we insert ourselves, where we find ourselves. I want us to take inventory of our surroundings. There's this guy on TikTok that normally says this is for transformational processes. So I say, if you're looking for vibes, comfort, and safe, then I don't think this is an episode for you. Towards the end of last year, I went through a difficult time in terms of my spirituality and my relationship with God. I experienced the most hectic spiritual drought that I have ever, like in my life, if I have to say. I went through a spiritual battle, and it led me to have a spiritual drought that I've never experienced before. And the reason is that last year, for someone who wanted to have a relationship with God at the level that I want to have a relationship with God and intimacy with him and experience the Holy Spirit, I took part in things that I really had no business in, and I thought I could juggle. And at first it looked like I could be able to balance between the two, do me, live my life how I want to live my life, and still serve God, please God, pray. But then you go out, you come back, you have drank alcohol, and today you're not so drunk and you're able to pray, but tomorrow it's a different story. And before you know it, you spend time with God the whole week, 5 days in a week. Before you know it, it goes down to 3. By the time you realize it's 1, and it's neither. And the saying that if you choose to follow God, then it's either Him or chasing the things of the world. You can't have it both. You can't serve God and serve money. You can't serve God and serve your body. You can't serve God and just live however you want to live. Do whatever you want to live. Speak however you want to speak. Go to places that you want to go to. So if you are saying that you want to chase God, you want to be all about Him, you want to be obedient, you want to live the way He has called you to live, then you're going to have to pick one. You're going to have to choose one, because it cannot be both. And for some reason, last year, I thought I could have both, but I was very wrong. And honestly, when I say this, I mean that there are people who are okay with, going to church on a Sunday and then living a particular life, doing whatever they want to do. And they just feel like church makes up for all the things that they do and how they live. And if that works out for you, then that's okay. But for me, I felt like I want my life to reflect God's life. And I want, when people interact with me and come into contact with me, to experience God. And for that level of anointing, there are some things that have to die. There are some things that you have to pick. There are some things that you have to isolate yourself from, and just be in a position where you are like, I am in a posture where I only want to hear from God. And we think we can live however we want to live and do away with the consequences. We think we can be able to do whatever we want and there'll be no consequences for that. But I was wrong. I was wrong. And sometimes we find ourselves in situations, in places, with people that we really have no business being with them or being in those spaces. Hear me when I say this and listen carefully to what I'm about to say next going forward. We get in situations just for vibes. We hang out with people that we really have nothing in common with. We go to places we really don't want to go to just because we want to be cool, we want to look cool, or we want to fit in, or it was peer pressure. And we think that at one point we will be able to do away with those places without them affecting our spirit or our souls. You hang out with that guy, you are just with him and it's no strings attached, and you're just with him for vibes, and you're having sex with that person. That person is having sex with other people, and those other people are having sex with other people. And at some point you think that that's not going to affect your spirit, that's not going to affect your soul, but there's a lot of exchange of energies, and you just call it vibes. No, it's really nothing serious. We're just vibing, but you guys are having sex. Okay. We go to places that we really know that they don't really interest us. We're friends with certain people, or we get at a point in our lives where we feel like we want to cut off some people. But the people that we want to cut off are friends with some of the people that we are friends with. And we continue hanging out with them while they hang out with the people that we're trying to cut off in our lives. And we think at some point we will be able to do away with those people. It's like you want to be friends with people who are friends with people who are infected by a disease, and you think you're not gonna get infected. You are friends with people who hang out, who are in the same spaces, who are in the same room with people who are infected, and they come to you and you think you're not gonna be infected. You're going to places where the people that you want to cut off are there, and you just think somehow they are not a part of your life. And one thing also is social media. You are constantly on social media, consuming all this information, consuming all of these things that you are seeing online, and you place yourself at a pedestal. You put pressure on yourself. You now put pressure even on the people that you are in relationships with, because you keep comparing your life to those of people on social media, and just somehow you just feel like, oh no, it's just social media, nothing big, it's not a big deal. But most of the time you are always on social media, and you are doing nothing productive with your time. Everything you're doing, it's an inspiration from social media. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you want, because you see different characters, different people, different opinions, different lives, and you somehow think you can be all of those at once. And then there comes the community or the environment where we grew up or where we come from. Where you come from, people don't dream like that. Where you come from, people don't work those kind of jobs. Where you come from, people don't get to experience marriages like that, don't get to have kids who go to these places. And somewhere, somehow, you think the way they think. You no longer dream the way you used to dream, because now you are a product of where you come from, and where you come from defines or it sets a pace for how you move in life. And you are okay with that. You are okay with being a product of where you come from. You are okay because by the time you say you want to dream like this, then you're not being realistic. By the time you say you want to do this, you want to achieve 1, 2, 3, you want to have this kind of marriage, then you are looked at as if you don't have an experience for that. Where we come from, people don't have opportunities like that, and somehow that becomes your reality and that becomes your truth. What I want us to realize is that there's no such thing as just vibes. There's no such thing as it's not that deep. It is that deep. It is that serious. And it is that deep if your soul is in the line. You cannot live this life where you are like, oh no, you can just do whatever, be with whoever, do this, do that, and you somehow think that it's not that deep. There are some blessings and some gifts and some talents that will be activated the time you decide to take inventory of your surroundings. As long as you're still on social media, scrolling through, consuming all the energy that you're consuming, and you're not praying, you're not writing that business plan, you're not looking for a job, you're not taking a walk to exercise, you're not, focusing on the things that you want to achieve, then nothing is going to change. Nothing is gonna change. And you're like, no, I'm still waiting on God. When the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. But how will you even know? How will you even know? Because you're not praying. You're not even in a position where you want to hear from God. And even if God will speak, you will not be able to hear him, because there's no space to even hear him, because you're consuming all this information, all all of these things that you're consuming on social media, and you're not positioning yourself to hear from God, and you just think, oh no, well, somehow things are just going to work out. But you're not praying. You're not working on the plan. You're just on social media. Multiple opinions, multiple different kinds of information in your head. And it is said that God will give you strength as you go. You will go from strength to strength. So how will He give you strength if you're just sitting? If you're just laying there and you're not doing anything? Remember the man whom God gave one talent to, and he buried it, didn't do anything to? His master gave him one talent and he buried it and he didn't do anything with it. And his master took it from him and he cursed him. Because I gave you something. I gave you all the tools that you need to succeed. But you're like, oh no, I'm waiting. I'm waiting on the Lord. When the time is right, He will make it happen. You say you want to cut off certain people in your life or avoid certain people and places in your life, yet you hang out with people who hang out with them. That's exactly what I said. You want to hang out with people who hang out with people who are infected, and somehow you think you're not going to get infected. But who am I? Continue waiting if you want. Continue hanging out with those people and you think your life is going to change. Continue being on social media and you think miraculously a job is going to fall on your lap. You remember the woman who went to Elijah and said, my husband died and his debtors are coming to collect and they're going to take my son. And Elijah asked him, what do you have in your house? And she said, I only have a jar of oil. God will come to you and say, what do you have? I gave you something. What do you have? What did you do with it? Elijah told the woman to go borrow vessels from her neighbors and collect as many as she can. She must not collect a few. And close the door. Fill those empty vessels with oil and keep pouring and pouring. And the woman poured until there were no vessels anymore. And when she stopped pouring, the oil ceased. You don't do anything and you expect God to keep on blessing you, to keep on reactivating your talents, the gifts that He has given you, but you're doing nothing with them. You're just sitting. You're not serving Him. You're not advancing the kingdom. You're not even doing that business plan, but you want to have a business. You're not even trying with that 10 rand that you have. And when I say we need to take inventory of our surroundings, the perfect story that I want to talk about is the Shunammite woman. You remember the Shunammite woman in the Bible? The woman who did not have any kids, and at some point I think she considered herself, or she cut herself out, and she didn't think having kids was possible for her. You know why? Because her husband was old. And she opened her house to Elijah. And at one point, Elijah was like, what can we do for you? And she said, nothing. And the servant was the one that said, she doesn't have a son and her husband is old. And Elijah called her and said to her, by this time next year, you will have a son. And she said, do not lie to your maidservant. Now, her saying, do not lie to your maidservant, exposed her for the fact that she did count herself out. She did not believe that having a child was her truth and can be her reality. Because you know why? Her husband was old. And we know as people, we are like, oh no, when you are this age, you are way past childbearing. You won't be able to have kids anymore. You won't be able to bear kids anymore. You are grown. And the woman did not open her mouth to ask for that because she did not believe that she could have it anymore. You don't believe that you can have that kind of a job. You don't believe that you can have that kind of a family because where you come from is very toxic. Your family was broken. You grew up in a household where there was no father, but there was only a mother. And you want to have a marriage where your kids will grow up in a house where there's a father, there's a mother, and you just don't think, or you stop wanting that because you are looking at where you come from. And now, when the child died, she set off to see the man of God. And her husband asked her why she needed to see the man of God. And she said, it is well. Oh, baby, it was not well. The woman just lost her son, the son that she never asked for. And maybe if she had opened her mouth and spoke to her husband and said, I'm going to see the man of God because I want to inquire about my son, her husband would have been like, it was not meant to happen. Obviously, maybe we dreamed a little too far. We wished for something that we knew was not possible for us and could never be our reality. And she said, it is well. Because some conversations you can't have with the people whom at one point you guys agreed on the same thing. I don't think the husband was hopeful for the child as well because he was old. He didn't think he had it in him to bear any kids. So you prayed for that marriage and God gave it to you. You prayed for that job and God gave it to you. And now you're experiencing problems in your job and you want to express the distress and the discomfort that you are having regarding that job with your friends. The very friends who did not even believe that you can get the job. Your marriage is suffering and you want to have that conversation with your mother. The very same mother who did not even believe for herself that she could have a healthy family or husband. Yes, there are the people that you love. They're very close to your heart. You honor them and you love them and you want to continue to do life with them. But you must understand that there are certain conversations that you can't have with certain people. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with the fact that you may be in my life, but there are certain spaces where I enter, I'm going to need to leave you behind. There are certain conversations in the season that you are in that you must realize that you need to have conversations only with God. You can only have conversations with people who spoke that in you, who spoke the blessing over your life. You cannot have a conversation with someone whom at one point you guys were all infected and you believed in the same thing and you had the same mind. For you to see the hand of God move in your life, in the season that you are in, you're going to need to do things and take decisions that will make you less cool, less favorable, and you won't necessarily be the favorite. You cannot invite people in your spaces or you go to theirs, you open the door for them and you think somehow you won't be affected or infected. Invitation is presence. Presence is energy and energy is contagious. You are gonna get affected. You can't be hanging out with people just for vibes. Get off social media. Cut those people off or distance yourself from them until you're strong enough and God can sustain you to the point where you can't do away without them. You don't necessarily have to hate them. You don't necessarily have to not like them or talk to them or even greet them, but they don't have to be a part of your life like they are now. There are things that are holding you back from where God wants to take you, but you're not even aware, because you keep thinking you can serve God and serve the world. You can chase after God and still chase after things. And worse is that you want to end in the flesh something that you began in the spirit. You started with God. You were walking with God. And somehow you thought, oh no, God can still be a part of my life, and certain lifestyle and certain things can also be a part of my life, and they can coexist. And that's not possible. So if you want to experience a different supernatural, then you have to be okay with doing things that are not in the natural. It's okay if you're unrealistic. It's okay if you are delusional. It's okay if people think you're crazy. It's genuinely okay. You cannot allow yourself to be in those spaces, to be around those people, to go to those places and still think you won't get distracted, still think they won't drag you behind, still think, oh no, somewhere, somehow, you can still hang out with these people and they can talk like this, they can do this, and you won't end up being like them. As I said, invitation is presence. Presence is energy, and energy is contagious. You are gonna get affected. You will get swallowed by their energy. And you may think, oh no, maybe I will, affect them with mine, infect them with mine. Not really sure what the word is, but what I want to tell you is that if you're a positive person and you hang out with people who are very negative, you will get swallowed by their energy. It takes a lot of work to be positive, especially in the world that we live in. It takes a lot of work to choose positivity. It takes a lot of work and discipline to wake up every day and choose to see the positive, the goodness in life. And it takes no effort at all to be negative. And one day you're going to stop putting in the work. You're going to stop putting in the effort. And before you realize, you speak like them, you sound like them. There's this say in the Bible that says, how can two walk together lest they're in agreement? Not my word. Not my word. Not my word. So do not take for granted the power that the people and the spaces that we allow ourselves to be in have over us. It is that deep. It is that serious. And as I said, this is for transformative process only. If you're still okay with the mediocre life that you're living, if you're still okay with living beyond or living like you're not called, it's okay. It's genuinely okay. Then this episode is not for you. For our first episode, we went into heavy, we went into deep. But it's because I know that most of the time we're like, new year, new me, and the hype ends by Ferb. We're already down, we're already out. But I don't want this to just be for the new year. I don't want this to just be for the first 3 months. I want this to be for every season that we find ourselves in. I want you to know that the places that you go to, they have a lot of influence over you. There's this man who said, I know that I have a problem with lust, so I do not go to the strip clubs because I do not trust my flesh to not lust after what I'm gonna see, because I want to be faithful in my marriage. You want to change, you want to lead a different life, but you don't want to remove yourself or break up with the things that are causing you to not be the person that you want to be. You keep stumbling back. You keep stumbling back, and it's okay to fall. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to go back to those places, but come back. Where you come from doesn't need to define you. You can dream big. You can be whatever you want to be. God has given you all the equipment and the tools that you need to survive. And as you keep going, as you keep moving, He will bless you. He will make a way for your big dreams. He said, dream big. Do not limit yourself because your father can fund it. So there's no time for vibes anymore. There's no time for it's not that deep, it's not that serious. It is. It is that deep. It is that serious. And I want you to be aware of that. I will see you guys on the next episode, and it's all love and light from me. And thank you so much for the continued love. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for always, supporting. And yeah, my heart is full. My heart is really full. And I wish us nothing but prosperity, God's love, God's covering, and His presence in our lives. May we seek His face. May we seek His counsel. May we walk with Him even in difficulty. May we see even if there's nothing to see. May we believe even if it's difficult. Re dule re tshwareletse la re sa bone gore re tshwareletse moyeng. Because if God said so, then He will be sure to perform whatever He said. So from me to you, it's all love.